Hey everybody, it's Draft Thunder here to break down week one of the preseason after the Hall of Fame game. So last week, it didn't go terribly. We played some of the right picks. You saw we picked the Steelers. We saw we were high on them. We knew they were gonna be high owned. Really, it was a little bit of a train wreck though of a game.
Yeah, I mean, the slate really just came down to if you use the Steelers at captain or not. We really didn't do that too often. Um, and that's just the way it goes. The Steelers apparently don't know how to use a Hall of Fame game. They ran Najee Harris into the ground and used a lot of their starting receivers throughout the whole entire game. So very interesting usage from them. Something to look for on Thursday night slate, but we're here to break down the Friday night slate. Think that'll give us just looking at the 3 different days, actually 4 different days of preseason action this week. We think Friday slate will be most beneficial to most people. So we're here for that as for this week.
Yep, and I will be dropping some quick picks on TikTok at Draft Thunder to break down probably Thursday night showdown slate. Just get out some quick picks. I'll do that for even this video if you want to just go to that, but you don't have to. This is going to be the full explanation, full rundown of each position for the Friday night slate. So, like Ben said, 3 games. Let's start with the quarterbacks we like. Go ahead and lead us off.
Yeah, so try to keep it as team by team within position as possible as we get on the slate. But I think overall, one of the quarterbacks I'm most interested in anyway is Logan Woodside for Tennessee. We're not going to see Tannehill. I'm pretty sure they've already come out and said that you won't see Tannehill. So only 2 quarterbacks remain on the Titans roster. So I am a big fan of Logan Woodside in the preseason. In 2019, he kind of, in 3 of the 4 preseason games, he actually threw for over 100 yards. He's a guy that actually has played an entire preseason game for the Titans before, like no other quarterbacks play. So he's someone they kind of lean on in the preseason. Going to need to be the number 2 quarterback this year for them. And originally in camp, the battle was with Deshaun Kaiser. He got cut about 5 days ago, and they brought in Matt Barkley. Matt Barkley's not very good. He's been in the league for a long time and only got here 5 days ago. Can't imagine as we see a ton of him. Logan Woodside for a half plus, I think, is a good bet.
Yep. I completely agree. One thing that we always preach for preseason is the only thing you can really rely on is playing time. So when we hear that these guys are going to get a half or 50-50 split, whatever it is, we jump on that compared to the rooms that we're going to see with 3 quarterbacks, maybe even 4 quarterbacks. We haven't really seen that yet, but it's a possibility with some of these teams. I don't think we're going to see it on this slate, but it will happen. Actually, maybe the Cowboys, right?
Well, Dak's not back
No,
yet.
Dak's not back, yeah. But there will be teams like that. We said we're going ahead with the Falcons, who are in our situation with 3 quarterbacks, but one of those being Matt Ryan. They are only going to run with 2, which are A.J. McCarron and Felipe Franks. Did we see Matt Ryan's not going to play? Is that official?
I don't know that that's official, but I don't think, going off history, I know it's a different coaching staff now, but Falcons history would lead us to believe that Matt Ryan won't see any time.
Yeah, and if he does, 1 drive, 2 drives. But I think I saw Dan Quinn come out and say no for him. So looking at A.J. McCarron and Felipe Franks, you could really do either guy. They both have the potential to give you a touchdown, maybe 2 passing touchdowns. But I personally like Felipe Franks, Arkansas guy, right?
Yep.
He has some rushing upside. He ran there. You said he also was quarterback of Florida, lost it out to Trask. Hate to see it, but this is an opportunity to hopefully get some exposure as an undrafted quarterback here. So I like him a lot with the playing time hopefully being there at 50-50. You can also go with McCarron, but either of those guys are a go for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Franks is going to be someone they want to see. We haven't heard exactly the split. We're assuming 50-50. It just kind of makes sense to each get a half, but I think Franks could actually be used a little bit more. Apparently his arm has impressed a little bit in camp. We'll see what happens. Hopefully get a little bit more clarity before Friday. Yeah. Moving on, so honestly, those are probably my top 2 as of now. As we get more information, I would be interested in Mitch Trubisky if he's going to play the whole first half, which I think is entirely possible. The rest of the QB room isn't very good from. Very good, and they have a fourth. We're not seeing Josh Allen. That's official. So Mitch is probably going to start, and if he does get a full half, I wouldn't mind him. A little bit of rushing upside, obviously, and out to prove something. Wouldn't hate that. Sean McDermott did say some starters will play. It'll be a case-by-case basis, so maybe he won't have Diggs, but maybe he gets some better receivers and a Manny Sanders or a Gabe Davis, something like that.
Maybe.
Other than that, it sounds like the Cowboys are going to play very similar to the way they did in the Hall of Fame game. I think they really want to give DiNucci an extended tryout. He didn't look very good, I get it. But he did kind of get there at the last second with that 25-yard run, which is what his upside lies in. So I don't hate that again if it sounds like they're going to play him the entire second half like they did in the Hall of Fame game.
Yep, and I'll just go ahead and talk about the other rooms. The Cardinals are one that you can target to, Colt McCoy and Streveler, I believe. Chris Streveler. But I like Streveler out of those two. It's in our 2-quarterback room. Shouldn't see much Kyler Murray. That's all in their depth chart. And then
you will see Kyler. He is going to play.
Yeah, but
not much.
Yeah, exactly. And then Lions, Goff. Any news on him?
Yeah, so the Lions starters are going to play a whole first quarter.
Yeah.
Which makes that a little bit of a mess. It's only a 3-quarterback room, but once you take out a full quarter for Goff,
it's just like a 3-quarterback room. Also,
right? You don't. 1 quarter's not enough for Goff, and then the other 2 quarterbacks aren't very good anyway. So.
Yeah, we've seen our fair share of David Blau in actual playing time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. You good? Running backs?
Good. Yeah, let's go to running backs.
All right. Go ahead, you can jump in.
All right, so starting off with Tennessee again, I don't think we're going to see Derrick Henry. That's going to leave you potentially with some Darrington Evans, which I don't mind. It sounds like he's been really, really good in camp for them, and is actually going to be a factor in the regular season, especially on passing downs when Henry doesn't do much anyway. But I don't think you're going to see quite enough of him to be totally viable. I don't mind it. But where I think you can start to see some more is Brian Hill. He's a preseason darling of ours anyway. As a guy that back in 2018, 2017 actually did decent with the Bengals in the regular season. I prefer him to Jeremy McNichols just due to their running style and McNichols being more in the return game as well. That was something that struck me in the Steelers was Anthony McFarland was their main returner, at least on kicks, and he didn't get as much time as running back, and I'm wondering if that's just due to the way they're getting their playing time. So with McNichols being a potential returner, I don't know that you'll see him as much in the backfield. Brian Hill's someone that can score a little bit of a bigger body to McNichols. And other than that, there's really only one other running back in the room and 2 fullbacks, so there is definitely value to be had there, and I think Hill could lead the team in carries, which is what we're looking for.
He's talented too. I will say that. One thing about McNichols I do want to stress, when he would come in the game last year for the Titans, for Derrick Henry, he'd be the passing back.
Yeah.
So you could see catches from him. There's a tiny bit of upside there. I'm going to move on to... What do we have here? Let's do the Cowboys. So Rico Dowdle is in play again. So really, Zeke is, again, up in the air. I think he's healthy, so I don't think he's got any injury problems, so I feel like they could play him a little bit here.
But if you saw in Hard Knocks, they had that one mic'd up with Mike McCarthy saying, I don't think we should run Zeke at all in camp.
Well, because you're talking about the volume he got.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I really don't think you're going to see him.
And same thing with Pollard. And then if Pollard will play, it just won't be that much again. He could get in the end zone. You never know. Pollard's talented too. And then Dowdle looks really good. He looks really good. He got a lot of playing time. I expect to see something very similar again. And then on the backside of the running backs that are left in the room, it kind of looked like they didn't really care about them, which we talked about. So we see the drop off with them. Dowdle should get the bulk here, especially if Gilbert plays a lot more. That would be probably helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think he is in play again.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I liked what I saw from Dowdle. Was a little frustrated when the fullback was taking 3rd down reps and stuff like that, but it is what it is. Hopefully Dowdle does something similar, and he was actually the first look on a goal line pass play. Just didn't work out. So he had crazy upside in the Hall of Fame game, so hopefully it gets realized in this game.
Yep. Go ahead and drop 2 more backs you like real quick.
Sure. So I am really on Javion Hawkins for the Falcons. He's a really electric runner that's shown out in camp. Quadri Olson has been wearing a yellow penny, which means don't hit him. He hasn't been able to participate in 11-on-11s all week, so I don't expect to see him. Cordero Patterson is their number 2, with Mike Davis being the number 1. Obviously, you'll probably see a little bit of each, but with Cordero, I just don't think you're going to see a ton of him in the preseason. He's just He's good. He's decent at running back. He can obviously flex out wide too. But I think they're going to want to. They've seen Cordero obviously not in Atlanta, but they know who he is roughly. They've seen what they need to out of camp. I think there's going to be a pretty big competition for this third and fourth running back role on the team. So I'm liking Javion Hawkins to try to snatch that spot, and starting with in preseason. And then another one that I like is Antonio Williams for the Bills. One of the running backs on the depth chart, Christian Wade, is hurt. Also, Zach Moss, as we know, just went down with a hamstring injury, so that leaves Devin Singletary as the number one. So I think you will for sure see some of Singletary, just not as much, especially depending on how bad Moss's injury is. And then Matt Breida, you'll see a little bit of as well, but another guy that's been around for a while. Really big fight going on for this fourth running back spot, and there's only one other running back on the roster that's healthy. So I really like Antonio Williams, another guy that's been good in camp so far. I think he'll get another guy that will get a ton of carries and potentially some receptions out of the backfield.
Yep, I completely agree. And then two I want to talk about. The Lions running room, we have Jamal Williams and Dedrick Mills. They're both interesting. And then in the Cardinals running back room, we have Ito Smith, who got cut from the Falcons, who we liked there, and he's behind Chase Edmonds and James Conner. He's a talented back, so if he gets the run here, which he possibly could, that could be a good play. Let's move on to wide receivers. I will lead us off. So talking about those Falcons who just cut Ito Smith, we will have two that we think can be pretty good. Frank Darby and Austin Trammell. Yeah, so Frank Darby's probably the one who's going to be decently high-owned, I could see. He's getting a lot of hype in camp for the sharp players in DFS, which is going to be most people in preseason. They're going to see that hype, see that he's getting a lot of articles about them. If they look up Falcons camp, it's going to be him. So I think this game he'll still get a lot of playing time just because of where he's at on that depth chart. Like he's behind Russell Gage, Zacchaeus, Christian Blake, Tajay Sharp. That's him. So I like him a lot. But then if we want to go for less ownership, but still a guy who's talented and going to get playing time in this game, Austin Trammell could be that guy. So those are the two that I like from that game. And then I'm just going to say the other three that I like. Okay?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So the Cardinals, two guys, and Ben has two other guys on the Cardinals. But basically, they have a thin wide receiver room this week. A lot of injuries there. A lot of guys who they don't want to even touch because they know they're solid. They have a great wide receiver core, actually. But the two that I like are JoJo Ward and Greg Dortch. They are basically camp bodies. They have shown out so far, and they're just people getting a lot of noise. So that's why I like them in this thin game. And then with the Cowboys, I'm running back Malik Turner. With the time frame that he played last week, and he showed out for something, he had some drops, but he also came in the clutch for, I think it was like a 17-yard gain downfield or something. He looked good for route running especially. So I think it's somebody that they are going to give more of a chance to, and they want to see him step up here.
Yeah, 100% agree on Malik Turner. Like the rest of a lot of them outside of the fumble.
That's what it was, yeah.
But it was good to see that he stayed on the field after the fumble. I was worried that the coaching staff might send a message, but that wasn't the case. So I like Malik Turner. And Cedric Wilson just staying in Dallas, I thought also got a decent amount of run last week. Yeah. Looked pretty good.
He's talented.
And another guy that will make that team, but it seems like they're more using these games for those roster spots, those bubble spots. So another guy that I liked, and especially with the second half still getting really ugly, and Dallas's O-line looked really, really bad in the second half. I would much rather get the receivers out of the way in the first half when the game's a little bit sharper. There were some other guys that played a lot, but they just didn't look as good last week for Dallas. And then just kind of working backwards, like you were talking about with Arizona, thin wide receiver room. I like Keyshawn Johnson. He's been with them for a few years now. He's stuck either on practice squad or as a sixth receiver option for them. He's been better this camp, is what they've been saying. So that's good to hear. He might end up starting this game just with all the injuries. Rondale Moore is someone I would have been interested in, but he's been limited in practice. That scares me, especially for an early draft pick, so I'm not going to go to him. Further down the depth chart, though, Andre Baccellia apparently is an electric guy with the ball in his hands. Slot receiver, small guy, but super, super fast and someone that's been catching the eyes of the Cardinals camp. So I like those two out of that room. And like we said, it's a really thin receiver room, so you could see the guys that do play get a ton of time. Got a couple other guys I want to talk about. Going to Buffalo, Jake Kumaro, Aaron Rodgers' best friend, apparently is having a really nice camp for Buffalo. So maybe there was something to what Rodgers was talking about and being so upset that they cut him. Not really sure. Staying in Buffalo, I also like Isaiah Hodgins, a little bit further down the depth chart, but again, with Diggs being hurt and you're probably not seeing a ton of Beasley, Manny Sanders is obviously an established vet. So I think he's going to get a lot of time now. The guy's had a nice camp. And then only other three that I'm going to hit on. Two are in Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you've been grinding out best ball drafts, you definitely know who this guy is. He's been getting a lot of hype already as a regular season guy. But with the way the Lions are going to work this, in my opinion, is they're going to play like they said, they're going to play the starters in the first quarter. I think he'll be a starter, just not necessarily right now for the regular season, but with a couple injuries, he's going to start in this preseason game. But since he is a rookie, I do see Dan Campbell extending him out a little bit. How smart is Dan Campbell? We'll find out, but I think it could be a good chance for him to really show out and hopefully prove all this hype to be correct. And then another guy in Detroit that's been having a nice camp is Tom Kennedy, someone that's not going to start, but has developed a nice rapport with Tim Boyle and David Blau. So once those starters leave, he'll come in and hopefully provide that safety valve and upside for those second and third string quarterbacks.
Also, if you look at ownership there, I assume St. Brown will be high owned and Kennedy could be a lower owned.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think a lot of people will probably be excited for St. Brown.
Yeah.
And then just one more receiver for me is in Tennessee, Marcus Johnson. Apparently having, a guy with a really nice camp, getting a lot of hype out there. I can't imagine you'll see A.J. Brown or Julio Jones in this game. Both are hurt. So a nice chance for some of the guys lower on the depth chart to play with some of the guys that are higher up, play in that first half like we talked about when the game's a little bit sharper. So that's sort of where I'm looking for wide receiver.
Yep, I completely agree with those picks. Cool. So I think we're all set with receivers. Marcus Johnson is my last guy too. So let's talk about tight ends, and I only have two this week. So the first one, I'm gonna run it back with the Cowboys, and we're gonna talk about Sean McKeon. So at the end of practice day, in the middle of practice, whatever, he's running a route. Dalton Schultz came up like a little tight, and they probably won't be safe with him because he is definitely one of their top tight ends that they're going to run with Blake Jarwin. So the way Sean McKeon looked last week, he looked really good. He was having good route running. He got 2 catches for 20-some yards. Basically, with the way it's going to be this week, tight end is a weird position. If we're doing a 3-game slate, it's not a showdown, so you have to pick a tight end. Sean McKeon is a guy who I think can offer us 4 pretty safe points with the upside of getting a touchdown, some more catches, some more yards. So I really like him as a fairly safe play this week, I think.
Yeah.
So that's one of my guys. And the other one I have is Demetrius Harris. So he is on the Cardinals. He's behind Max Williams, Darrell Daniels, and Ross Travis. But basically, he's been somebody who they talk about is going to get playing time in this game. He's a receiving tight end. So I think that he's also someone who's interesting here. I wouldn't say he's as safe as McKeon, but he's definitely somebody who I'll look at for some variation of my lineups.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely want McKeon. I'll just add 2 more names to that list. For Atlanta, John Rain. So, I think we'll see some Kyle Pitts in this game and some Hayden Hurst, but they're not going to want to, use too much of those guys. And then sort of looking at the rest of the tight end room, John Rain is vying for that 3rd, 4th wide receiver spot. Lee Smith is obviously a guy that's been around a while. He's more of an inline guy, a blocker, so not too concerned about him. And then there's only 2 other tight ends. So I think Rain's going to get a lot of playing time. And also with this new Dan Quinn just left, with this new system from Arthur Smith from Tennessee, I think the Falcons are going to run a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends on the field. And that it's going to start to get implemented in the preseason. So in the regular season, I do expect a lot of Hurst and Pitts to be on the field. They're not going to change up their tactic or this new playbook just because they don't have those two guys on the field. So I think you could see Rainey out there a lot with Lee Smith being a blocker, something like that. So I do like him. And then the other one I like is Elise Mack for Detroit. So Hawkinson hurt his finger the other day. It doesn't seem serious, but again, another guy that they're not going to want to push. He's probably going to be their leading target getter this year, and one of their most important players if they're going to want to do anything in the regular season. And then Darren Fells, obviously a guy that's been around for a very long time, another guy that's a blocker. So again, we're leaving ourselves with a little bit of a thinner tight end room. Elise Mack is going to sort of lead that, a guy that's been having a really nice camp. So that's sort of where I would go with tight end this week.
Yeah, there are not too many options to what we know of yet with tight ends. So that, I think, are four pretty safe guys that we can go with, that we feel are going to get the playing time to be on the field, and that aren't blocking tight ends, because that's also in our big thing that we will see. Mm-hmm. So those are pretty good. So the last thing we have, because it's a full slate, is defense. Now, one big thing with defense is the conditions of the game matter.
That's true.
So, actually, we have a little surprise. We have Michael Goodman, weatherman, to bring you the weather conditions for the weekend. So here we go.
What's up, guys? As always, this is Mike Goodman with your Draft Thunder Weather Report. This weekend, we got some great football for you. Starting on Friday, we have three different games in a dome, which means my services aren't needed. We're skipping all three. Saturday, we have the Chicago Bears versus the Miami Dolphins. 77 degrees. Should be a beautiful day for some football in the Windy City. Then we take it to Minnesota as we have the Vikings versus the Broncos. That one's going to be in a dome. I don't care about it. It's in a dome. My service is not needed. Then we're going to Jacksonville as we have the Browns versus the Jaguars. It's going to feel like 96 degrees, 100% cloud cover, and a 12% chance of rain. Those chances could increase daily. I would keep a lookout for that one. Might not want to be throwing the ball too much in Jacksonville. Then we're going over to Baltimore as we have the Ravens versus the Saints. 62% humidity in Baltimore. A 1% chance of rain, which happens to be the exact same percentage of J.K. Dobbins falling past the 14th pick in the second round. My pick, he's going to be on my team. Go Birds. No remorse. Take no prisoners. J.K. Dobbins is going to be the number one running back this year. Mark my words. Then we have the Battle of New York as we have the Jets versus the Giants. Humidity 0% chance of rain. But I think that we're going to see some good players here. Going to see Zach Wilson a little bit. I think he might get some play time. I'm interested to see how much. I'm sure the other guys are talking about how much play time he's going to get. I have no idea. I just look at what the weather is going to look like. Then we go over to Tampa Bay as we have the Buccaneers versus the Bengals. Tom Brady versus Joe Burrow, past versus present. Just kidding. Neither of them are going to play. This is the preseason, guys, and it's only preseason week 1. Also a 20% chance of rain, so those backups might be throwing geese out there. Go to Green Bay. It's going to be snowy, cold, and horrible. Boom! Just kidding. Uno reverse. It's going to be 75 degrees and sunny. Should be a beautiful day for some football in Lambeau Field. I recommend you get your tickets now before it becomes negative 20 degrees and you do not want to go. Then we take things over to San Francisco 49ers versus Chiefs. Perfect day for football in the good old 68500. Last three games in the slate are going to be the Raiders versus Seahawks, the Battle of LA, and the Carolina Panthers versus the Colts. All three of which, dome games. I don't care about them. My services are not needed. Should be AC, snacks on deck. Go to the concession stand while you can. Beautiful day for some football in the dome. This was Mike Goodman with your Draft Thunder Weather Report. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mike. As you heard, Friday, all dome games. So no advantage this time around, but take advantage of that Saturday weather report if you're playing any sort of slate on Saturday. But jumping into defense, I mean, giant crapshoot. Pittsburgh obviously last week showed out. That was not a given, but people expected it. I think where we're going to go to this week is bad QB rooms. Yeah. So what we're sort of looking for are guys that we have seen before that we know aren't very good, potentially turnover prone, stuff like that. So I think jumping off of it, I think we would have to go with Dallas because you're not going to see a lot of Kyler, and behind him, obviously, we mentioned them as potential plays, Streveler and whatnot, but that's just more for volume, and for defense, you're just looking for a couple sacks, a pick or so. So I think that could be a good spot, and I don't know if you have another option here.
I think the safest defense, in my opinion, is the Bills, because the Lions are hot garbage, and preseason is not going to change anything like that. And the Bills are a good team. They have a good defensive scheme. They always have. It's in Detroit. Who cares? But basically, I hate Detroit's room a little bit more with Tim Boyle and David Blau. And Jared Goff, new system, not really any receivers to throw to. He was blessed on the Rams, okay?
Yeah, I mean, McVay and the receivers, absolutely.
So this could really be him showing his true colors. It won't be at the same as him week one showing his true colors, but I don't think it's going to go off them. I also think, though, the Bills are going to be the highest owned defense, so watch out for that. Because the thing is, since some team's going to get a touchdown. It's going to make them the highest team for the slate. So even though the Bills technically could be the best play, highest owned, no touchdowns, someone being better than them, you can get lucky with. Differentiate your defenses. And one will work out for you, right? It's preseason.
And you still won't see a ton of huge scores, I wouldn't imagine. So you're not going to be looking at negative defenses or anything like that. So it's not going to kill you. Hopefully you get lucky, or you play it safe and just go, with the Bills and just match the field there. So really take it any way you want, but it's a position we do have to talk about on these full slates.
Yep. Okay. I think we're good for today.
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I would just say if you decide to play any showdowns, obviously all these plays are good for showdowns. Potential for kickers and defenses in the showdown slate. If you see a room or a team only is carrying one kicker, that's a good way to differentiate yourself. That wasn't the case last week. That's why we didn't touch on it. But it's something that could work out for you. And then obviously defenses are still going to be in play, just not quite to the extent that they were in the Hall of Fame game.
Exactly. Yep. So, Friday should be a nice slate. There should be a lot of games out there for our Draftkings contest for you to enter. Best of luck out there. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know any plays that you have. Any information is helpful. Tweet us out at DraftThunderDFS on Twitter. Like I said, TikTok, we'll be posting some plays. And best of luck this week. We will see you next week.
Yes.
Okay. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Yeah.